Welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show with local and national thought leaders discussing issues impacting the Black community. Now introducing our host, Miss Ann Marie Sorrell.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders. I'm your host, Ann Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group. Thank you for taking time out of your busy afternoon to join us as we discuss issues that are impacting the Black community. Before we get started with our broadcast, I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Thank you to Demesman and Dover Accident Attorneys, FAMU Mary, AARP, the Florida Lottery, and All of Us Research Center at the University of Miami. Now, today I am joined by, my longtime friend who I haven't seen in forever, Torey Alston. Welcome, Torey.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. And I think this is your first time on Lunch with Legacy Leaders, so welcome on behalf of Legacy as well.
Great. No, glad to be here and glad to be back with family and friends.
Exactly. So, wow, we have so much to catch up on. For our audience who may not know Torey, he was recently appointed to the school board of Broward County Public Schools by Governor Ron DeSantis, literally just, a few weeks ago?
That's right. And I'll tell you.
Has it been a few weeks yet?
It has been a few weeks, still not 30 days. As you know, little ones, you like to say, hey, you can't give a report card unless you've been on the job for 30 days. Still less than 30 days, but no, as you've said, excited to be on the school board, appointed by the governor. As you know, I previously was serving on the Broward County Commission, doing some great things there. And I've, done a lot of great things in many public service roles. Look, the folks in South Florida know me very well. Broward County knows me well. Miami-Dade and Palm Beach knows me well, as I've worked in the Tri-County area on many issues impacting our community and all communities in South Florida.
Well, I want to take it back a little bit before we jump right into school board, your new role. Because for those who may not know you as well, let's kind of just go through your background, how you got into first government work and now public service. And did you think that the government work that you were doing was going to take you into actually being a public servant in a public figure way?
So if you ask any of my classmates at Walker Elementary in 5th grade, or Parkway Middle in 8th grade, or Blanche Ely High School my senior year, they all would probably tell you, we knew he was most likely to succeed. We knew that he was going to be a public servant, and he has always had a passion for our schools. And all of my classmates who know me well, this is my 20th year anniversary, by the way, high school anniversary. As class president for my high school. So any of my classmates from elementary through high school, including up to college, where I'm a Rattler, proud Rattler, went to FAMU, served on the board of trustees there for 6 years. I think I was the youngest trustee serving at the time and the most senior member, so put that together. But no, I think everyone would tell you that, that has always been a passion of mine. I watched my mom and dad, my dad, who was a deceased law enforcement officer with the Broward Sheriff's Office, my mom, who was a retired social worker with Broward Health, watching their commitment to serve the community, watching my aunts and uncles, who also are teachers and law enforcement officers and others also do the same, was very impactful to me. So whether now being chair of the school board or on the county commission, professionally, as you know, I have been all across the state of Florida. I have been chief of staff at the Florida Department of Transportation, helping run a $10 billion enterprise with 6,000 plus employees. I've been at Broward County government as a chief of staff. I've worked on the cabinet for former superintendent of Miami-Dade Schools, Alberto Carvalho. You'll know that I was one of 3 faces of a successful $1.2 billion bond referendum down in Miami-Dade. So many of my colleagues and friends in Miami know me well. So I've been all across the state of Florida. I've been in the city of Gainesville doing some great work there. And this little skinny kid that grew up in the 33311 zip code also led the state's MWBE program almost 15 years ago. So this is my work. This is what I do. This is what I've done for many, many years. As you know, I just didn't get on the scene yesterday. I've been fighting in the trenches for a long time. And as a former, the immediate past first vice president of the state NAACP, look, when you're talking economic empowerment, you're talking building Black wealth, you're talking economic inequality, you're talking quality healthcare. You pick an issue, you pick a topic. I've dealt with it, I've worked on it, and I've helped people.
Yes, you certainly have. And so, thank you for sharing your background again for everyone who may not know the depth of what you have done in the community. So your name is definitely not a stranger to many of us who have either worked alongside you or have just been in the various circles. So let's talk about this new role.
Sure.
How do you feel about this appointment, first of all? Like, when you got the call or notification, what went through your mind? And take us to how you're feeling about this.
Well, the first thing I said is God is good. The second thing is my wife was a few steps away, and I said, honey, come here, because I needed to make sure I got her green light. So for anyone that's watching, I will tell you, as I've said before, my wife has been my biggest cheerleader. And quietly my biggest critic, but you got to have that, right, when you're in public service. But no, she has been 100% supportive. My kids also the same. Elliot Elizabeth and Torey Lewis have gone on this journey with me for several years now, and I'm very grateful and appreciative. Honestly, this is now a second big public service opportunity in Broward County, my home county that I know very well, was born and raised. Went to public school here. I was a student member on the school board here exactly 20 years ago. So I know Broward very well. I know Broward schools very well, as many of my friends and classmates and family members are all teaching, they're administrators, they're non-instructional staff in the school system today. So they're my eyes and ears. And I tell them secretly, hey, don't tell anyone that you know me, because I want to lean on you, right, for the real pulse and insight of the district, right? So understanding what those, our employees who are bus drivers, right, our cafeteria workers. So I have family members embedded all throughout the school system, which really keeps me grounded. So as I think about policy for our students, and I think about how to push Broward schools to become an A school district, where Miami-Dade and Palm Beach is, and where we were, that's my focus, getting us back to being the #1 district in South Florida, because we can do it.
Sorry about that, trying to unmute here. So Broward County Public Schools has, just over the last 4 years or so, 5 years, have just had a lot of challenges public-facing challenges, from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, to the pandemic and mask not wearing policies, to removal of school board members, to now appointments of school board members. So there definitely seems that there's a need for some stability and some good news. How do you foresee, as chair, getting Broward County Public Schools back on a positive trajectory as it relates to just overcoming these different challenges, but potentially avoiding future challenges such as what you've had before? And of course, you can't avoid a pandemic or whatever, but just from a policy standpoint.
That's right. No, excellent question. I think you hit around the head. We have gone from a tragedy to a pandemic, issues and challenges after challenges. But this is Broward County, and I know our people very well. We're resilient. I think that's why the school board elected me 9-0 to serve as chair, because I know Broward. I've built and worked with large organizations. I've helped our local small minority, veteran, and Black businesses. I have worked with businesses in the business climate. I have worked with ADA compliance, ensuring that there are no issues across organizations, their facilities, and their buildings. So there are a series of things that for me have kept my attention. Making sure that, schools along the I-95 corridor on the east side of town get the same attention as schools elsewhere. So those are the issues that are important for me. So you're absolutely right. Are there pockets of excellence in Broward schools? Absolutely. We just had a conversation with the board, and I said, guess what? There are great things happening in Broward schools. We must do a better job putting that out to the community. Because unfortunately, this, the local media, they're just looking to sell papers. They're looking for the headline, the tagline, the big tweet that everyone will click on. But no one is really tuned in to the details, right? Watching the meeting, what actually happened, right? They're getting it third, fourth, and fifth hand and not really seeing all the big things and great things happening with Broward schools. But I think the board elected me as chair to bring that sense of stability and credibility back to the school system. I think I was also elected as chair to do a couple things. Continue asking the tough questions. Changing the culture of any organization is tough, but also ensuring that there's transparency and accountability up and down the organization. Secondly, it's my job and it's our job as a board to empower our employees. They should not feel stifled from thinking big, thinking outside the box, and doing big things. That should be number one priority for any of our direct employees of the board and really all employees of the school system. So that's the other thing that I've tried to do. Telling the board members, stay out of the way, right? Our job is not the day-to-day operations of the school system. That's the superintendent, general counsel, and chief auditor. Let them do their jobs. Let's support them. Now, if they're not doing their jobs, right? If there are things that are questionable, absolutely push back. That's your job as a board member. And I think everyone recognizes good government and good governance. And that's what I pushed. And then the last point I'll make is, and you were absolutely correct, this new reform board looks like Broward County. It's collectively competent, a diversity of experiences, those who have served as classroom teachers, those who have a legal background, construction background, business background. So collectively, this board is experienced. So I am confident in this current makeup of the board. I am confident that many are reform-minded. I am confident that we have gone through and will continue to go through a healing process. Look, as I said, change and reform is not easy. Some people want change, right? Some people don't want change because the status quo for some is good enough. But as you know me very well, and many know me that may be watching this broadcast, I don't like status quo. I want to push the envelope. I want our kids in Broward to be number one. I want our kids, when you hear these types of stats and, for the listening audience, did you know that only 52% of third graders are proficient in English in Broward County Public Schools? Did you know that only 48% of ninth graders are proficient in algebra in Broward County Public Schools? Did you know only 46% of eighth graders are proficient in science? Those are the kinds of things that keep me up at night. On my first meeting, I said to the board, look, we have an emergency in education right now. We have a learning crisis. Those are the kinds of things that we should be focused on. What are we going to do to make sure we move our kids that where they were pre-pandemic to where they are now post-pandemic? Give me solutions that are really going to move our kids so that they are on grade level, right? And guess what? As a board member, I've been there less than 30 days. I presented some solutions. So that's what I encourage my colleagues to do, right? It's easy to say no. Oh, that's the easiest thing to do. Raise your hand and say no. The hardest thing to do is come up with a solution that helps every child in our community, including our Black and brown children in Broward County. And that's what I've pushed this board to do.
Well, thank you. And for sharing your vision and, your solutions and what you plan on doing or what you are already doing within these first 30 days as chair. So as you have these different challenges that you just named off, the things that keep you up at night, Of course, there have been new legislation and policies that have come down from Tallahassee over this course of the last legislative session. And you were also appointed by the governor who put some of these policies in place. How do you think your leadership, your appointment impacts how you're going to, govern on this board, and how the community may perceive the appointment versus some of the legislation that just has not been received in a positive light, i.e. don't say gay, banning of books, and various other challenges, even though CRT may not be in the school system curriculum, but just all those different issues that have come down from a legislative standpoint, and knowing and I know this is a nonpartisan seat, so I want to put that out there for anyone listening. It is a nonpartisan role that Torey serves in. However, some of these policies that have come down from Tallahassee have created partisan divides between parents and people in the community. So how do you navigate that, considering your appointment came from a governor who pushed for some of these initiatives that have been divisive and have created some partisan divides in a nonpartisan capacity?
No, I appreciate that question. And unfortunately, we are in a very politicized environment. And for those who know me very well, when I was appointed to the FAMU Board of Trustees initially by a different governor, Governor Christ, or Governor Scott, you ask any FAMU alumni, the moms, dads, aunts, uncles, grandparents, was I able to help kids get to FAMU? Was I able to ensure that there was financial assistance at the time for many of these bright young boys and girls, young men and women? Was I able to help folks from our community? Everyone would tell you absolutely yes. Whether it was my appointment to the Broward County Commission, helping to ensure that we were increasing opportunities for tourism, increasing opportunities for our small veteran minority businesses. Everyone will tell you absolutely yes, he did, serving in that capacity. In this capacity, being appointed to the school board, you're absolutely correct. I recognize the politically charged environment that we're in, and you're right. This is a nonpartisan race, but I think everyone knows that I'm very independent-minded. The board, I think, is very independent-minded. I hear noise every day, all day. I receive text messages every day, all day. I'm on Twitter. We're getting feedback every day, all day. I'm getting my DM, as many would say, every day, all day. But I know how to sift through the noise. I know as a public official, one, input is great, engagement is good, but governing is something different. And I think the Sun Sentinel has been very kind over the first 30 days, expressing their thoughts on my governing these first 30 days, saying, you know what? He knows Broward. He knows how to ask the real questions. And so far, I think we're on the right path. So I said all that to say the question, that you asked was very fair. There are a lot of decisions that the state legislature will make, some that will, clearly come down. But I think for you and the listening audience should know, all school boards are independent. All school boards, have their own officials. In this case, there were 5 appointees over the last several months that this governor appointed. I'll remind anyone, whomever was the governor would have done the exact same thing. If a grand jury that was convened not by the governor, but by the Florida Supreme Court, after 2 years of work with 18 individuals working for nearly 2 years, said all these things and challenges exist, leading to the ultimate removal of board members. And so I'll just be very frank, right? If it was Andrew Gillum, right, as governor, who we all know, or in this case, it was Governor DeSantis, the exact same action would have occurred, any governor removing individuals named in a grand jury report. So I think that's where I try to depoliticize it. I know folks make it political. And let me make the other point. There's a lot of conversation around appointed members in an elected board. Guess what? Any governor would have done the exact same thing. It happens in every county around the state. I encourage folks to look at it, right? Anytime there is wrongdoing from any public official, look at Miami-Dade, right? The governor will remove an elected official, regardless of the role, regardless of party affiliation. So, when you remove the politics, when you remove the partisanship, and you focus on the kids, collectively, I think we have a board that does just that. And I appreciate the question. We're very independent minded. We know Broward. We know what to do, and we'll always do the right thing.
And I appreciate that, because that was going to go into my follow-up, which you kind of answered, but I want to have an official answer on the record, because I think people want to know, if, for instance, this governor, or come November, maybe another governor, if there's a mandate or something that you and your colleagues don't agree with, will you take your stance of not agreeing? Or would you go with whatever is there to make sure you keep your post? And I think that's a fair and important question, because the current governor has been kind of notorious for, yes, there are maybe some wrongdoings, but there's also demonstration, whether across the state and other capacities, where if someone disagrees or doesn't fall in line, then there's consequences that are placed on them by the governor. And so are you afraid of those risks, considering you were appointed by the governor? And if there's another governor in November, will you basically stand in the paint and stand on what you believe in and what you want to fight for, with the risk knowing that you could be removed? So that's just one of the questions I want to piggyback on.
Let me start by answering the question for you and the listening audience on what I've done already. So you can base my leadership and my experiences on my track record. 12 years ago, before tax increases or tuition increases were a big thing in our university system, I was the lone university trustee at FAMU saying, no, we are not going to increase tuition on our students. I was the lone university trustee making that statement, making that pitch, and voting no. More than 12 years ago. 12 years ago. Before that was the popular thing to do. Let's fast forward 12 years. The popular thing to do now, which is politically easy for a lot of folks, is to say, no tuition increases. Well, I did that in an environment that was not politically friendly. Okay. Politically friendly, or the easy thing to do, would have been for me to close my eyes and just say, yes, let those tuition increases continue on our boys and girls that are going to FAMU, FSU, UF, et cetera. I could have said, going to FAMU, yes, increase tuition. That was an easy vote. It was on the agenda. That's what the administration wanted. I have no problem voting no. I have no problem standing up for what's right. I've done it my entire life. I've done it my entire public career. Let's fast forward. I think I answered your last question by saying I have always been independent minded. I will always do the right thing. Let me tell everyone, because I think there's a misconception that the governor probably calls thousands of people, thousands of appointees, right? And says, here is what thou shalt do, right? You know what every governor for me for the last several appointments has said? Do the right thing, help your community. That's my charge. My charge is, when I'm sitting on the school board, every meeting, I'm thinking about Elliot Elizabeth, my now 7-year-old. I'm thinking about Torey Lewis, my 4-year-old that will be 5 years old. And I'm basing most of my thinking, my decision-making on how that impacts them and other little ones in the school system. my nieces and nephews in the school system, aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends who give me insight on their well-being and their learning environment in the school system. So I want you to know I've laid it all on the table. Everyone knows my background in South Florida. Everyone knows my track record. I stand on it any day. I appreciate the questions. And, for some, they fold under pressure. But I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated as well. And I've never folded under pressure.
Thanks for throwing that plug in there.
I've thrown a couple plugs. You got to do it.
Well, we love all the FAMU plugs. Yay, go Rattlers. So one of my final questions for you. Again, you have a pretty big job and responsibility ahead of you considering the challenges over the last several years. You expressed some of your vision. From a programming standpoint, do you have any specific programming or programs or policies that you would like to see implemented, let's just say within, your first 100 days and your colleagues' first 100 days? What is the 100 days of you and your colleagues look like for the parents, faculty, staff, businesses, and all the stakeholders for Broward County Public Schools?
So in less than 30 days, we, by a 9-0 vote, just passed the school district's budget at a public hearing last week. We lowered the millage rate. We're the only government agency in Broward County that did that last week. Lowering the millage rates reduces financial stress on all homeowners and taxpayers in Broward County. I've started to lay out, and you said the right word, policy, not programs. Programs are for the administration, but policy solutions, budget solutions, that's the role of the school board. I've already proposed last week that we'd like to set aside $8 million in reserves because of the economic downturn that's coming, because I don't want to impact the classroom. I don't want to impact our students. So I proposed that to the school board already. It's coming for a vote. I've already proposed that 119,000 students in Broward County are not proficient and not on grade level. I figured that out in less than 30 days. And I've already put forward a solution. My solution is providing a $500 digital wallet to every child that is below grade level and that is not proficient. So that parent can decide, I want my child to be, tutored by teacher ABC. I want my child to be tutored by company ABC, or maybe I want my child to be tutored by auntie or uncle ABC. But providing real relief, moving our kids from being non-proficient to being proficient, or below grade level to being on grade level. That's how we're going to become an A school district. I've also proposed, I talked about ADA compliance. We have been dinged as a district in the past on ADA compliance issues, elevators, our walkways, our buildings, accessibility. I'm an ADA compliance coordinator as well, credentialed, I guess, among many hats that I can wear. So that's important to me. So we're going to be bringing back an ADA self-evaluation process, also coming up at the next board meeting. So you asked the right question. In less than 30 days, I've already unveiled 4 policy solutions for the school system. One for our kids, one for our taxpayers. We approved a budget that lowered the millage and includes compensation for both instructional and non-instructional employees, right? We'll have those conversations about what that looks like, I'm sure, in the near future. So I've already laid it out in less than 30 days. So I'm not one of those public officials that will sit in the seat, that will wait for the administration to propose ideas. No, that's my job as a policymaker. I'm going to make some recommendations. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to make some folks uncomfortable. And guess what? That's how you move the organization forward.
Thank you. And thank you for laying that out. So in lieu of time, you and I can sit and talk all afternoon, but you may want to you may actually want to go get some actual lunch. I don't know. So with that being said, we have a lot to look forward to you. You're less than 30 days on the job. Of course, we're going to make sure we invite you back in the future so we can, know what's been implemented and how things are going in this new role. How does those who are listening get in touch with us? How can they, if there's a call to action that you may have from the community, please feel free to express that call to action and how those in the community can support you and the new board members, as well as the existing board members, to ensure that Broward County Public Schools continue to move forward and in a good direction for all of its constituents and stakeholders. So how can we assist? How can we get in touch? And any closing thoughts that you may have for our audience?
Sure. Well, thank you so much. This was a great conversation, sharing about the great things happening with Broward schools and the many opportunities to come. It's a great school board. It's a great school system. And I appreciate the work of all of our employees, both instructional and non-instructional. And I salute all of our students, nearly 260,000 of them. And I used to be one of them, that are doing great work, that are learning and expanding their young, bright minds, because they're going to be our future leaders of tomorrow. So thank you to all for what you do. This is a call to action. My call to action was, we have 119,000 students that are below grade level or not proficient in various subjects. If that didn't wake up the listening audience, I don't know what will. I'm calling on our faith leaders, our business leaders, other public officials, stand up, stand with me, stand with the board, stand with the school district as we move our 119,000 students forward. I need your help. I need your support, your resources, your financial resources, so we can get our kids back on grade level. You can reach me on Twitter at Torey Alston, ToreyAlston. You can give me a call directly in the office, 754-321-2002, 754-321-2002, or feel free to send me an email at torey.alston@browardschools.com, torey.alston@browardschools.com. I am here for you. I'm a fighter for all issues in our community, and that won't change.
For that information, Torey. And thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I know you could be doing a ton of things in your new role, because I'm sure there's plenty to do, especially with the new policies.
Talking to you and here with our legacy leaders in this conversation.
Absolutely. Well, we certainly appreciate you here at MIA Media Group and Legacy. And thank you again for being a guest with me on Lunch with Legacy Leaders. Stay with me for just a moment as I do a few announcements, and definitely want to thank our sponsors again, Demesman and Dover Accident Attorneys, FAMU Mary, AARP, the Florida Lottery, and All of Us Research Program at the University of Miami. Please stay in tune with all the things that we're doing at MIA Media Group. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, which comes out weekly with all the things that are happening around South Florida, please be sure to do so, miamediagrp.com. And of course, we have something for everyone. So please watch our other shows, which takes place Mondays, The Business of Black Business at 1 p.m. with Jay Reynolds. Tuesdays, My Money, Your Money at 7 p.m. with Bridgette Lumpkins. And Wednesday, we have Soul at 7 p.m. with Nikki Jellin. Thursdays, of course, yours truly, Lunch with Legacy Leaders, and Flavor of South Florida with Chef Irie at 7 p.m. We can't forget about our health, the most important thing. Black Health Fridays, 2 p.m. with Dr. Michelle Kerwin. As always, everyone, please share this video, share it far and wide. There's so much helpful content that you could share and impact somebody out there, or just inform, especially those who are in Broward County that are listening. Share it with those in your network so that we can continue to deliver this message. You all can get an opportunity to virtually meet new board chair, Torey Alston. And as always, be sure to save your calendar and tune in with us on Thursdays for Lunch with Legacy Leaders. Torey, thank you again. I really appreciate you being here. You're welcome. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Have an amazing afternoon.